Kevin Belton here. Welcome, hope you're having a great day. Now, today we're gonna make chicken cacciatore. Now, in the pan, I have butter and olive oil, okay? I've got that heated up really hot. I have my chicken pieces where I've seasoned them with a little bit of the Creole seasoning and just dusted them with flour. Now, I have this pan really hot, and what I want to do, I want to sear our chicken in the pan. Searing it off just helps lock in those flavors. So we're just going to get all of our chicken down in here. Come on, hop in. Now, this is going to take a few minutes. Let me just wash my hands right quick after touching that chicken. You know, I don't know if you guys realize this, but cacciatore is Italian for hunter. Basically, because most of the time when things were hunted and caught, they would take it and sear it off the way we're doing before they slow cook it. So this searing aspect, that's how it got the name cacciatore, because it meant hunter, all right? So here, as you can see, that butter and that olive oil was going really good. And all I did, I seasoned the chicken ahead of time, and you can do this if you want, you know, with any pieces you want. I love dark meat, so that's why I'm doing this with legs and thighs, all right? And we don't need this too long. I just want to get this seared off, get a little warm, so it hits on both sides, and then we're going to go ahead and build the flavors for our sauce, okay? So let's go ahead and just flip these over, turn our pieces over. Matter of fact, you can see when Monica comes back in, how these pieces have gotten nice and brown just in that little bit of time. That's all we want. We just want to get that nice and seared and sealed. And if you're saying, Chef, why you didn't go with the bigger pot? Well, there's a method to the madness, all right? I want these flavors to get in here really nice, really close. And if you look at some of the other things I have here, I have some stock, I have a little tomato sauce, I have some diced tomatoes, I have tomato paste, of course garlic. Now, for seasoning, I have oregano, I have a little sugar, but I'm using rosemary and thyme. Now, typically, I might use dried rosemary and thyme, but guess what? I happen to have some fresh in the refrigerator. So that's why I'm just going to do fresh rosemary and thyme. But don't feel you need to have fresh. If you have it, use it. If you don't, that's fine, okay? Now, let me get a plate. What we want to do, like I said, this wasn't going to be in here very long. Let's go ahead and take this chicken out. And if you notice what I'm putting it on has some sides to it, okay? Because as this sits here, okay, we're gonna get juices coming out of this. So that's why I use something with sides, because when we put it back in, we want those juices. Now let's go ahead, get in. We have mushrooms, I have red bell pepper, I have onion, I have celery. I chopped the onion and the celery. I did the bell pepper in strips. And we just want to saute this down right in that same oil and butter that we sauteed our chicken. Now here, let's get a little Creole seasoning in. All right. I'm going to put in just a pinch of salt. You know, just very little salt, because we can always adjust that toward the end of the dish. Now, how long do you want to saute this down, okay? Some folks say, hey, saute it down till everything browns off. Other folks say saute it down just till the vegetables get translucent and soft, where they don't like it to brown off. Remember, when things brown off, that means they start to caramelize. That adds a whole nother layer of flavor. But if just sweating them out, that also releases all the flavor from those vegetables. I kind of do a combination where, because this is a dish that's going to cook for a while, I don't saute too long here because they're still a little firm, because this is going to cook slow. Those flavors will release, okay? So we don't have to saute too long at this point. At least I don't. But remember, hey, sometimes low and slow is the best way to do it. Oh, I tell you what, the smells and the flavor coming off of this. You can see our mushrooms are starting to wilt. All right. That onion, parts of that onion and celery, some of the edges of the onions are starting to brown off just a bit. Okay. And you know, this is one of those things when you hear chefs talk about layering flavors. I have actually done this where I put half of the vegetables in, say all the mushrooms, saved out some of the bell pepper and the onion, threw in the celery, threw in some of the onions with the mushrooms, let that saute, because this is going to cook for so long. Then I'd add the other onions and the red bell pepper in toward the end. All right? Because that way, now you have two different tastes and two different textures. So now let's go ahead, get in some tomato paste. And I always like to try to stir that tomato paste in, get it mixed in really good. You know, and this is where, make sure you stir, because you want that tomato paste to hit the bottom of that pan, but you don't want it to sit there and scorch on the bottom of that pan, all right? So let's get in some diced tomatoes. That's going to add a little bit of moisture here. Let's get in a little tomato sauce. Let's go ahead and get this cup of stock in. Now, I'm using chicken stock. If you would like, you could do this with a cup of red wine. For those of you all that have some red wine at home, put a little red wine into this. Okay, but I just used a little chicken stock. Now that we have some moisture in the bottom of this pan, notice I'm using something flat. That way I can make sure I scrape the bottom of the pan. Any little goodies from those chicken when we browned it off and seared it are down there. That's going to come up now that there's moisture in here. So now let's go ahead and get in a little bit of our garlic. We'll also get in our oregano and our sugar. Let's give this a nice stir. And now our rosemary and thyme. And we'll just get that down in here. You saw how this had come to a boil really quick. So now what we're going to do, let's turn this down. We're going to cover this and let this simmer for about 20 minutes. And then we'll put the chicken back in. Now that this is cooked down a bit, let's put our chicken back into the pan. This smells so good. Now we want to make sure we nestle our chicken down into this sauce, where it just gets covered, and that chicken, as it cooks, it's going to release flavor. It's going to have such a great flavor to this. Let's get that little bit, that's what I was talking about, those little bit of juices. Let's get those in. Now that we have this all nestled in here, we need to cover this, and now this is going to simmer from anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. The longer it goes, the more tender it gets. Our chicken cacciatore smells so good. Now there's a number of ways you can serve this. Of course, over rice. You can put it on top of mashed potatoes. But I have a little pasta that I've just cooked, tossed it with a little bit of butter, just to toss it. And now let's go ahead and find, oh, look at this. This is a nice piece right here. Let's just put it on top. Let's grab another piece. Here you are. Now let's get some of this sauce with these bell peppers and mushrooms. Oh, I tell you what, gang, this looks so good. And the smell. So here, finish this off. A little bit of parsley on top. You could do a little parsley, a little bit of green onion, cilantro, take your pick. But here is our chicken cacciatore. I tell you what, it smells so good, and oh, I can't wait to get into that plate if Monica doesn't beat me to it first. Hey, thank you for cooking with me today. Keep washing those hands, masking up, doing what you're doing. Stay safe. For WWL, I'm Chef Kevin Belton, and we will see you soon.